What's up, y'all? Welcome to Module 1 in a series of modules that will cover how you can improve your profit margins by 20 to 50%. And if you're new here, um, let me go just start off by introducing myself. There might be some there might be some this and that here. As if let me indoctrinate you and let you know how I go about doing things. I'm all about just getting the message out and then focusing on getting stuff pretty later on. But quick introductions. So, hi, my name is Ryan Brooks. I'm an independent strategy consultant and the owner and founder of Hard Knock Labs. Now, for over the past decade, I've been working in the product and design strategy space. And I've worked with, consumer facing applications as well as B2B enterprise applications as well. Um, I've worked on projects and products for companies like AbbVie Pharmaceutical, Merck, B&G Foods, Clorox, Ulta, Stanley Steamer, all these different companies. I've also done some GovTech consulting with the federal government, some of their agencies, as well as some local governments as well. But what I'm currently focused on right now is helping agencies and consultancies figure out how to improve their profit margins by 20 to 50%. Okay. And that's what this whole training is going to be about. Is how you can actually do that by utilizing what's called productization, but what I like to call scaled services. All right. So this is just module 1. What we'll cover today in module 1 is I have my little list here. Is we'll talk about the what is productization. Okay. Also talk about why it's important for you and your business now today. Also go over a little bit of what the traditional business model looks like for agencies and consultancies and what's going on there. Also give some key benefits as well as a couple examples to help you kind of visualize and understand what we're talking about. So without further ado, let me actually get my screen shared. If so I like to have I like to kind of sketch as I talk about things. So please forgive me with my chicken scratch as I go through this, but let's start off with what is productization. Now, I personally don't like the word productization because it's to anybody that you talk to that doesn't know what it means. Most people don't. They look at me like I have two heads when I say it. It's just like, did I make up that word? And the answer is no, I did not make up that word. I'll actually read to you the Investopedia um, definition, and maybe I'll add it on screen too. But so, productize refers to the process of developing or altering a process, idea, skill, or service to make it marketable for sale to the public. Productization involves taking a skill or service that has been used internally and developing it into a standard, fully tested, packaged, and marketed product. All right. So, like I said, I don't really like that word productization. So, how I'm going to try to refer to it is scaled services. But let's talk about why it's important today. All right. So, today, actually, let me just give you a little bit of a story. So, or what kind of made me start thinking about productization. While I'm working in GovTelSec, oh my gosh, bear with me, y'all. I'm not even gonna edit all of this. I'm gonna let you just see me run through it. But as I was helping with sales proposals for the GovTech space, I came to the realization that you know um, the world has gotten a lot smaller, especially since COVID. And what does this mean? This means that there is so much more competition now that we've all moved to working remotely, that we now are crossing borders and barriers of how we get to work with each other. That means we have a lot more competition. Also, the expectations from clients is a lot higher today. Okay. The clients expect a lot more and their budgets are a lot smaller. So it's becoming harder and harder um, to be able to compete, with each other, but also as we're seeing today with these waves in technology, as far as AI and all of these things happening, more and more products are coming up that are actually competing with us in the agency and consultancy space as well. We're seeing websites that can get you up and running in a matter of hours with AI tech. We're seeing all kinds of different things that we're actually competing against, and that is taking our clients' dollars. And so now is the time to start borrowing from our um, competitors in the product space and figuring out how we can scale up our offerings. So let's look at the traditional business model right now. So we've got the agency here, right? It's a little house. This is the agency or consultancy, AC. And so we normally pride ourselves in having the best talent to be able to effectively do what we need to do to support our clients. Now, the thing is that the average um, profit margins of agencies and consultancies and most professional services firms is about 40%. So we'll say profit margin is about 40%. So I said 35 to 40%. We'll say 40. Okay. Now let's put this into perspective. That means that if your agency brings in about $10 million, that means that the profit is about 4 million. That's a big M. Where's all that money going? Where's that 6 million going? Well, let's think about it like this. Let's say that you have an agency that has about 100 employees. Now, the average salary for an office worker in the US is about $42,000. Now, I know you're probably paying a little bit more than that. And also, that's just the salary. That's what they take home. That doesn't take into account all the other things that go into paying your employees. So let's round that up and say that each employee is making around 50K, or you're spending about 50K per employee. So 100 employees, that means that you are spending $5 million on employees, on your best asset, your talent, which is what you offer to the table. That's why your profit margins are so high. Now we want to take. Now let's take our. Oh, don't turn. Stop. All right. Now let's take a product company. So would it be a good? I don't know. I'm just gonna give them a little house too. Product companies are making software that you're competing with, that is competing with your best talent, right? And all they have to do is actually create that platform and build it. Now their profit margins are from about 80 to 90%. That means for that $10 million that they make in revenue, their profit is coming out to, let's go on the small side, $8 million. That's $8 million that they can use to reinvest into their software, also go into more marketing and client acquisitions and whatever else. XXX, XX, whatever else that they want to put that money into. That is who you're competing with this traditional business model. All right. And that's why it's so important to go about productizing your business. So there's some very clear, benefits to doing this to your business, right? So let's say, what are the benefits to productization? Clearly, what I'm telling you is you can improve your profit margins. So you can improve profit margins, and you can have more visibility into your profits, as well as like, so you can see which products are selling the best, how you can kind of improve them, all that kind of stuff. So you have a little bit more visibility into this. You also can scale your business better by scaling your services. You can have more of a systematic approach to your growth. And that means you can replicate your offering without having that proportional increase in your workload or overhead, right? Also, you can improve customer satisfaction because, believe it or not, you can create more operational efficiencies. And your customers are really going to appreciate knowing exactly what to expect, when and how much it'll cost. And that'll help them simplify their decision making process. And it's also going to make the quality of your services that you give a lot better. There's also the long term benefits as well, right? Let's say that at some point down the line, you have your agency, you have your consultancy, but us, we're all multi passionate individuals, and no one's going to hold it against you if you ever decide that you want to, you know, go and do something else, retire, or try to open up another business. The thing about agencies and consultancies is that since they're so people heavy and so dependent on key personnel, is that they're really hard to get really good valuations on, and in turn, very hard to exit. So if you're one of those people who eventually wants to exit, productizing your company will also help it be able to do that. All right. So let's talk about company valuations. And then some other additional benefits that you might have is increased ability for digital transformation because you're going to be more adept to the different technologies that are out there. You're also going to be able to deal with disruption better. You might actually be the disruptor. Also, you can deal with changes in B2B buying behavior better. Also, something that you might be thinking about is like, wait, will I have to get rid of my staff or whatever to increase these profit margins? No, not necessarily. And you'll actually hear in one of these examples what this means, but you can also improve your staff retention. And you're like, you might be looking at me crazy. Like, what do you mean? How is that? Well, think about it like this. With more straightforward, systemized processes, employees become more satisfied with their work, reducing staff turnover. And then another one that you might have thought of already is reduced dependency on key personnel. And so, let me move this thing out the way. Um, what does this mean for you? So, like, reduce dependency on key personnel. Gone are the days that your top designer or your top engineer has to work through their vacation time because your top client needs something immediate, right? That also just goes into turnover and all of that stuff. So, what is a couple examples of what this might look like? So, let's start with just like a basic example. We'll go on two different ends of the spectrum. Let's say that you have a let's say that you have a company where you make websites for local businesses. So let's say that your agency does custom websites for local businesses. And so like your process might be that you like through your sales process or through wherever like you're doing like your internal discovery process to learn what their needs are, all of that stuff. You're doing your custom web development. You also have several different iterations and loops. And this ends up being a very timely time. There's a lot of time being wasted, essentially. Sorry, no offense. This might be what you're doing right now. But say that you want to productize your offering. And some things that you might do here is instead of doing a different discovery every time, maybe you create a checklist that your sales department goes through to figure out all the needs for the business, right? Instead of doing custom development, maybe what you do is you create a template, right? So you create a template for your websites and you just might add a few customizations here and there. So the template might just include things like the home page, the about us page, the services page, contact us, the basic things that the local businesses typically need. And then you might also have a structure or process around how you do the feedback loops. Now, what you did was you actually, by doing this, you cut down on the time needed to actually come up with that discovery and figure out what your customers need. You also tremendously cut down the time and the work to do custom web app development because now you have a template and you're just, you know, plug and playing there. And then you also created a system around your feedback loop to make it much easier to be able to track. So now what went from taking maybe a month to get a custom website out for a client turns into a 2-day interaction, 2 or 3-day interaction. That way, increase customer satisfaction. That way you can sell to more customers because you can do more in a shorter amount of time, all that kind of stuff, right? Now, let's go to another example. And I don't know why I haven't been doing it this way. Let's actually use an example from a company that I've worked with before. This company was a marketing agency. They focused on digital marketing. So it was a digital marketing agency, and they had a very specific way that they went about doing digital media buying. Okay. So they had a very specific and unique way that they went about doing it. But the only problem was that it was very time consuming and tedious. So what did they do? They actually created a software to actually manage that process, to manage and automate it. So they automate it. And then they also created in that software several different insights reports. And they sold those reports to the clients for a monthly subscription. So what they did was they created recurring revenue and they decreased the amount of resources that they needed per client with the automations, thereby freeing up their team to work on more clients and increasing their revenue per client. And that's just 2 ways on the spectrum of how you can go about productizing or scaling up your services. In the next module, I'm going to talk about the different levels of productization and how you can actually create strategies for these different levels of productization and talk about some things that you can start doing now. So until then, I'll see you in the next video, and I hope you find this helpful. If you did, please drop a like, ask any questions or comments that you have, and I'll see you in the next module.